Conor, thanks for joining us today. We appreciate your time.
No problem.
Matt, good to see you again as well, sir.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about TT 2024 shortly, but let's just maybe look back at your experience and your achievements. So, 12 podium finishes. You're undoubtedly a seasoned veteran. Do we like using that word?
Yeah. I've had veteran thrown at me before.
I didn't use that word. Seasoned, I think was the word. Maybe you just talk about the experience, how that's evolved since 2006 as a general question.
As a rider, taking part in the event, forgetting results for a minute, the event has grown in status since I first did my debut TT in 2006, and I've just seen some huge changes, from the way the event is ran. Obviously, different classes have been introduced, and there's obviously been other stuff with marshalling and how that's developed and how they've reacted to certain situations. The organisation on the whole is just top deck. Fast forward to going into 2024 TT. It's the biggest motorsport spectacle on the planet, and it's such a satisfying feeling. Thinking back to 2006 to now, it's incredible. The difference is unbelievable, and I think it's testament to the people involved. So the whole, down to the Isle of Man TT organisation, the ACU, Isle of Man government, and what they brought to the party with their sponsors. We've got something very special on our doorstep.
Yeah. No, I think it often gets forgotten, doesn't it? Because it's always been certainly for us Manxies. Always on our doorstep.
It's an incredible thing, and I've been brought up around motorcycles all my life, and my dad still races. It's still in our family. I was born in TT, so I can't. There's that element of there was no chance of me not being involved in motorbikes.
So that development of the TT, I suppose the other aspect is the bike performance. I'd say, would you say the preparation of that? Obviously, everyone's a very good standard, sure, throughout the years, but I assume that's continuing to evolve.
Yeah, so everyone's preparation is, I think, ultimately made the racing itself safer. I don't think you'll ever make it fully 100% safe because we're talking about a public road. But again, from my debut to now, you look at they've introduced the TT mountain course license, of which you have to get 6 signatures on your TT license. So you have to race before you get to TT, whereas before all that, you could have literally done one race before from last TT to the next one.
Okay.
So that's all totally changed, and that's all about riders' preparation. And it probably wasn't that welcomed at the start because it meant people had to invest more time, money, etc. But I think that the end result has been people are a lot better prepared coming to the event, and they can get around safely. We've got safety partners in RST with the safety equipment. When now, obviously don't quote me, when now our race suits have to have airbags, so that's compulsory, and chest protection. So the level of safety in terms of rider prep and equipment is, again, at the top.
Following on then from that, where you talk about that evolving and the rider prep, one of the outlet values we have is that consistent gains, it's called. So over your career then, how are you implementing that continuous improvement? Because we're going so fast, it is just those, as we use, marginal gains. There's tiny little things that make a massive difference.
Yeah.
How do you implement that, and how do you look at that and what you do, and on that preparation for the next one? How do you keep bettering yourself and that mindset into that?
That's a very good question. I think it's down to we're in this to be successful. Success for me, racing motorbikes mean winning races, and I'm fairly confident everyone else is in the same boat. That's the goal. And therefore, what do I need to do to achieve that? I'm still chasing a TT win. And because I haven't achieved that, I'm thinking, what can I do differently? And again, it's down to your prep, in my view. I think I always feel as though if I know I'm going into a race season, I know I've trained hard. My state of mind, and my state of mind going to the TT is I've done everything I can. I've literally put the kitchen sink at it. I've done everything I possibly can. So not that it's guaranteed that results as a result of that, but you just give yourself the best possible chance. And whether that's like this year, I've done more motocross as opposed to probably more gym work. I have done gym work. I'm fortunate enough to work with the Alaman Institute of Sport, and I go out with Niter, and I've got the use of one of his sand tracks, and I just find that for me, I've gone more down the bike time sort of angle from a prep, and that's all geared towards being best possible position I can be to challenge.
Yeah, we had Jamie and Ryan who were obviously doing the bikes this year as well, and they were exactly that same. They're more focusing on they're trying to keep fit, maybe doing a little bit of push biking, but primarily it's on the sand dunes and on the crosser bikes.
Yeah,
it seems to be
it's the best. I don't think you can beat it. It's on a motorbike. It's got a throttle. It's got a clutch. It's got brakes. I think you arguably work harder on a motocross bike.
He says to two cyclists, "Carry on, Conor."
But yeah, I think
you're right.
Yeah, it's again me knowing that, getting on my motocross bike. I'm thinking if I'm really blowing on my motocross bike, then I'm going to be in good order when I get on my road bike. That's the way I sort of thinking.
The road bike's the easy bit then, apparently.
Hopefully, yeah.
Just to dig in just a tiny little bit on those, I suppose, consistent gains. We talk about mindset, and when we chatted a number of years ago, we had a great conversation with another gentleman who'd had a bad accident in a different environment. It was a great conversation, understanding each other's journeys. In that, we talked about the mindset of coming back from injury. I don't want to talk about that now, but I want to talk about the mindset of going into the TT and how much you, I guess, work on that, focus on that, think about that. I'd imagine that's a very important part.
Yeah, I think, as I said before, I've got one clear goal, and what do I need to do to achieve that? You have to be in a really strong mindset. Sitting on Glencountry Road there. Yeah. It has to be that way, otherwise you're wasting your time. So,
do you roll up to that start line going, "I can win this"?
No.
Okay.
I think because that's then me being overconfident. I think when I'm rolling up to the line, maybe others think that, I don't know. Maybe that is the winning mindset, but my mindset is I've done everything I can. Now I've got to work. I've still got to work very hard and push as hard as I can, and that's just. Really, that's life, isn't it? You just got to every day get up and push, and you've got to have a goal.
Yeah, and look, ultimately in this sport, you're an elite athlete, and you talk about the Tiger Woods. It's all about that process and all about that process, isn't it? And Tom Brady, people are like, it's the process. The results come out of the process. So as long as you're doing that process, thinking about whether you win or not kind of a secondary, really. Like you say, it's the process to get to it. Have I done all the prep, all the consistent gains to get to the best position I can on Glencountry Road? Yeah,
and you touch on cycling, but I think that has got to be one of the toughest sports going. Got absolute full respect for anyone. Look at the homegrown heroes that we've got here. Yeah. Like Mark Cavendish, for example, just what he's done on a push bike is incredible. That I do the occasional bit. I'd say I'm a fair weather cyclist, to be honest. But when I do that and I'm going up hills, I'm thinking, how do these boys and girls do this like at a professional elite level? That I think they've got a particular strong mindset.
Yeah. I'm sure when they're looking at you, they're probably saying the same thing as you go to the bottom of Big Arrow. So let's talk a bit about community entrepreneurship. So you've got, obviously, anytime there's commentary from the North of the Isle of Man, very deep rooted in the community. Started your own coffee business, that entrepreneur side of that. Just talk a bit about that. What drove you to start that business and develop that out, and how have you found entrepreneurship? That's the category we'll call it. Whether you do, I don't know, but have you found that?
It's very interesting. Every day is a school day. I'm sat here now in my work gear. You know, I'm very hands-on with the business. I love being involved. It started off the back of the well-documented crash I had years ago, and that there, weirdly enough, was my introduction to coffee. Back then, I was on a whole pile of different medication for pain relief, etc., and I stumbled across coffee, and it started to make me feel better. It was really strange. Bit of a rabbit hole, I bet. We could go down there. Maybe it's a story for another time. But that there was an eye opener for me as well, because I was low. You know, I had nothing. Had some savage injuries, and I didn't have an income. So the light bulb came on. Right, well, I've got to have something else in my life here to bring some, you know, bread and butter. So put a bit of research into starting my own coffee business, and a few years later we had the 3-wheeler Piaggio Ape, little mobile coffee cart, events all over the island, etc., and so that was the start of Coffee Man. I appreciate I'm skimming over quite a lot here, but now we're going to TT 2024, and we're about to launch the rebrand of the business, which is the Conrod Coffee Company.
I know you kind of started that during your accident period and the recovery. Coming back into racing again, how have you found trying to balance the two between having that entrepreneurial side and having your business, as well as we were just talking there, trying to still consistently improve and race at the same time? How have you found trying to do both?
I think there's been times I thought, you know, this is maybe a little bit too much. That was probably when I had the coffee shops, and that was COVID and all that story. That was when it was really tough, and probably had more of an effect on me personally and how I thought it was at the time. You know, looking back, hindsight's a wonderful thing, but I'd maybe done a few things a little bit different. But that was the only time where I found it was a little bit tricky, because the whole world was at a standstill. It was very difficult for everyone. People in a way worse position than I was. But that was challenging. But running that alongside my bike race, and even today, I'm able to manage both quite well, to be fair, but that's only because of the experiences I've had. You know, I'm still learning every day. I'm learning every day, and I love it. I'm loving, you know, learning new stuff, and I've just learned to just manage both, and it's all come off the back of experience. It's quite a bizarre thing, really. Yeah.
So maybe picking up on that, and we look at maybe young entrepreneurs or people with business ideas who obviously sat and thought about this. Have you had tips for someone? And I expect one will be go and do it, but what tips and advice might you give young entrepreneurs to or people venturing with a business idea from your own experience? Apart from don't do it during COVID.
Yeah. I think I would just be saying, don't be afraid to have a go. Have a go. Yeah. What's the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen is you say it fails, and you look back and maybe shouldn't have done that. Should have done this. That's you build an experience. I don't think there's anything negative to come out of having a go at something that you've clearly put some time and effort into.
Yeah. Is that old adage of not having fear to failure?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think for me, as I say, still learning. I find that's like you're asking there about how do I run, you know, the coffee job alongside my racing and whatnot. I find that my racing antics, exploits, whatever you want to call them, have actually helped me in my business, because maybe being in certain scenarios where I've had to like think differently and maybe being backed into a corner a little bit and I've got to react. I find that's where my sport has maybe helped me. And there's things that I've, you know, worked both ways. It's quite interesting.
Yeah.
Again, an experience.
I mean, we mentioned before we came on, we were chatting to a guy yesterday on Isle of Man Sport, and he was talking about that early sports academy where they bring young athletes in, 14, 15, and they're really teaching them life skills. And although it's in a sports environment and looking after yourself and being better at certain things, they're ultimately skills that they can then take into their workforce should the elite career of professional sport not be the case. And I guess that's what you're talking about there is the two very different experiences, but they're ultimately crossover.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can take from one another, really. And I love it. I genuinely love it.
So just one final round around the community. So obviously ourselves, we're more than and really pleased to be partnering and supporting you this year.
Yeah.
And I'm not here to say great, well done, Alan, but just for sponsors in general for you and for a similar conversation I had with Jamie and Ryan. Obviously, that's you. I guess at times probably don't go racing, and maybe certainly early in your career as you were coming through, trying to establish yourself as a name. I assume that local support is irrespective. There's people on the side of the track waving you, but all then everything else that goes around that community support for you.
Yeah, and it's massive to be. Right now, times are hard, really, for a lot of people, and there maybe isn't the support on the Isle of Man to help as many people. So that's why I feel very fortunate, genuinely very fortunate to have support from Atla. I'm turning 38 next week, and I've been doing this a long time, and it's a tough sport to get support. And I think we're very fortunate on the Isle of Man that we're deep rooted into motorsport, and everyone who's here knows about motorsport, and there's a lot of support for that on the island. And I like to think that's why I'm benefiting from the support of my sponsors, including yourselves at Atla and anyone else getting into sport as well. It's that sense of community is definitely there on the Isle of Man, and they'll definitely support their own.
And I guess before you go there, Matt, I guess one of those things that people want to support and help, whether it's this year or future years, is we've done a few bits together in regard to conversation. You're so approachable. It's just like reach out, have a conversation, and then maybe flipping that into the entrepreneur who wants to start a business and just wants a bit of guidance or just bounce some ideas. I would get the impression you just reach out to me.
Absolutely, yeah. There's well, coffee machine's always on anyway, so there's always the option. But that's the thing. It's this is for everyone. Obviously, what's the worst that someone can say is no.
Yeah.
You ask. You just ask, don't you?
Yeah.
Beyond that, who knows what happens?
Yeah, indeed.
No, just switching up a little. So, looking at reflection on your past performances, and to use that word, seasoned with 70 starts.
Yeah.
Looking back, what would stand out to you as kind of one or two highlights of what you've kind of achieved over the years so far in your motorsport racing?
I think achieving my first TT podium in 2009 was quite a milestone, if you like, because that was me. I was on a step of the podium, which was massive. Having grown up, or being born in TT, grown up around TT, motorcycle, everything like that, and then to take part in the TT 3 years down the road, and I'm on the podium of my home race. Massive. It was absolutely massive. And then, but that was the carrot then. I wanted more. I've done that from, once that sort of happened, I thought, right, you look to, I think it was either left or right, and you see the geezer on number one. I want to be there, and that's what drives me. I really want to be on that top step. And that first podium was quite, a step forward for me.
What race was that in?
That was in a wet super sport race.
Okay.
And it was one of them races where we're on dry tyres, and it wouldn't happen now. Again, this is all going right back to the start of the conversation, how the events evolved. No wet racing, Whereas that was quite a tricky race, and it was one of them. It started out in those conditions, and it dried out as the race progressed. And so that then the riders, we were getting quicker and quicker and quicker, and it was just a real, you had to be, anyone who was going to do well that day was like on the ball, thinking, riding to the different conditions. Some riders don't like any damp conditions at all, or wet conditions, but I don't mind them. I'm happy to have a bit of a go at it, going back to that thing of having a go. But yeah, that was quite a standout.
So one other thing, just another, I want to bring the conversation down in regards to looking at highlights, but when you were chatting there, it just reminded me of the video of race you were leading, I'm going to say 6-7 years ago, and you had a problem. I think you stopped somewhere maybe around Laurel Bank, Glen Hell, and there was a bike problem. So we think about resilience, which is a conversation we talk about on our sports podcast, those moments where perhaps it was within touching distance. Well, it was, is the reality. Do you reflect much on them, or is it just a learning, is what it is, can't change probably a small problem on the bike, because it normally is with those types of things?
Yeah.
Do they live with you, or is just it's a learning, need to move on? It's not, obviously you can't regret a bike problem.
I learned from that one, and it was really strange. But I did learn from that experience. I had a 23-second lead in the open Superbike race. Did the fastest ever stand and start lap of the race. I was well out in front.
So on the McAdoo.
Yeah. But what people don't know is my race was running to a close from lap 2 of that race, because my clutch started to get worse and worse. And it's documented, but I actually stalled it in the pits coming out of lap 4. And then I got to Laurel Bank, and that's when my race came to an end, because the bike just gave up. So I went from, you never forget anything, never take anything for granted. I was in that position of, this is on the cards, this. Way out in front, and I mean way out in front. And it came to quite a crap ending, to be honest. And so I sat at Laurel Bank, and I'm watching everyone come around, like,
That must be the worst bit.
It was diabolical. And next salute, I'm in the paddock after getting the course car back after the race, and there was certain members of my team then who were like beyond devastated, and they're really apologetic. And it was just my instinct. I just said, it's not a problem. We've got other races. Let's just focus on them. Just literally had that. It's something like a switch flicked in me. I was on the cusp of winning my first TT race, and it was just taken away. I was genuinely gutted, but I thought it's going to be no good me going and losing my temper. It's just not going to achieve anything. I was 23 at that time.
Yeah, so still very young for
I was
maturity. Yeah.
It was quite a big thing it's a bitter pill. To have to swallow, but you just have to. And I think from that day on, I've just learned just to flip it into a positive.
To me, that sounds like that's like a leadership skill, that in times of trouble you stay calm. The people around you, because ultimately you're a team, and you're not where you are in regard to any of us without the people around us. And I guess then you take that into your business, where perhaps there's a mess up with a delivery order or etc. It's the same. I've got to stay calm. It's not, these things aren't done intentionally. Just need to fix the problem. We need to move forward and start. And I guess again, looking at the two areas you're in, they're just transferable skills. You've learned from the sport to go, when I'm in business, I need that same approach, I would guess, anyway. Or maybe you shout at all the employees.
No, it's interesting, because there's some stuff that, you're right what you're saying. Totally right what you're saying. But then there's stuff that has happened and will happen that is ridiculously, small. And I worry about it. It's ridiculous. I've got colleagues and close friends of mine who run a similar business across, and like some of the stuff we ended up discussing, they're like, what are you worrying about? You ride around the TT course, all of the above, and you're worrying about that. Come on.
Yeah, perspective.
yeah.
But that's it, when you're often in the detail, it's hard to take a helicopter view. That's why it's good having friends, isn't it? Talking to them.
Brilliant.
Bit of perspective of, you're worried about that when you're doing that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just an experience thing again. You cannot beat it. And I'm just learning every day.
Yeah. So 2024, I guess And the general vibe from chatting with riders is they never obviously set, let's say, target times, etc. For you, I guess, though, that and from listening to you, the target is to get on that start line and compete.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we're doing it for.
Yeah.
There's no... I'm not going to... Obviously, I've said this before, but there can only be one winner. But I'm not going to settle for anything less. That is the mentality. I want to get on the grid, knowing I put all the prep in, and the goal is to win. Otherwise, why am I there? You know, that's... And I'll do anything to make it happen. I'll do everything to make it happen as well.
As a rider, do you see... As fans, your lap times are so important, but is that relevant for you, or is it just I go as quick as I can, as safely as I can, and whatever time comes, but I want to be that first step of the podium?
Yeah, I know where I want to be, like position-wise at the end of it all. It's the process to get to that is obviously, that's the hurdle.
Yeah.
But my approach to TT is just going to be no different to any other year where I start practice number 1, you know, and just build 2, 3, 4, get to race day, and that's when it you know you turn up another level.
Yeah. Oh, I forget. Well, I did just want to actually touch on last year because I know you had a lot of bad luck last year.
Yeah.
Maybe you just want to give a little bit of the story of the illness. Obviously, you missed so much practice as well, and part of race week as well.
Yeah. So we got. I was out of sorts before TT practice week kicked off, really, and I managed to get through to Wednesday and thinking, you're telling yourself, I'm all right, I'm just going to keep going, knowing your limits. And I got to the end of Wednesday, I came in off my super bike. I was due to go on my 600, which is the super sport bike, and I said to my team boss, Clive, I said, I can't go out on that. I feel dreadful. The weird thing about it was I felt like, so again, prep, knowing what I've done, I felt like I had no strength in the forearms. And it was ridiculous.
It's fairly important, isn't it?
It's an integral part of the whole thing. I thought, I'm not feeling 100%. I don't think it's right to go out on that bike. So I made that decision there, parked it, went home. And Thursday morning rolled around and it was just an absolute mess. You know, I was in a really, really bad way. I'm blown out of proportion a little bit, but I felt dreadful, sick, everything. And
would imagine you're fairly tough, bearing in mind your accident. So if you're saying you didn't feel well, I'm pretty sure you didn't feel right.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, so I just thought, well, I'll get today out the road and see how I'm feeling in the morning. And Friday rolled around, no better. I had to give Gareth from the TT medical team. I just said, well, I'm not feeling great. What can I do? And he asked me he said, come into hospital, I'll block you. And I felt pissed driving, pardon my language, but I felt like I was really badly drunk. Safe to drive, but it just I felt horrendous, you know. And got to the hospital, ran tests, and just stuck me on a drip. Mm-hmm. So I've got a viral infection at that time, weak as a kitten. And that was me. So I had to sit out until I sat every race out until Wednesday.
How did you feel on that side? I guess there's pressures where we talk about, say, sponsors, team, everyone that goes behind you that's backing you and all that side. And it's a lot to put, obviously, a lot on you. So you're not from the point you're not going to race if the doctor's saying no.
Yeah. But
do you ever feel that
guilt?
Yeah, it's kind of ultimately, you don't want to be the one saying, actually, I feel a sniffle or anything of that nature. You as an athlete as well, sometimes you want to downplay, no, I'm fine, I can carry through in that sort of sense. And just when you're having those conversations in that mind of, I feel a bit funny, but I'm still going to try and race. Does that have when you're going through all that, does that play on you and all that behind you, that if you decide to say, oh, sorry, I'm not going to race, there's everything all around that, and all your fans and supporters that are like, oh, you know.
Absolutely. It really does play. It played on my mind something rotten. It was horrendous. I was thinking, what am I going to say? What can I say? Because all I think in the back of my head, I'm thinking all the preparation that the team's put in, all the sponsors that are backing the team, fans, everyone who's there, not just to see me, but all those riders, all that came into it, like my family, because it's an awful lot of, not stress, but it's a bit of a pressure cooker for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And they just want what's best for me. And all this is going through your head. And it's horrible. But fortunately, I've just got amazing people around me. First, I've got a great wife and kids and, extended family who just want me to be safe. Forget results. That's the be all and end all. As long as I'm safe and I'm well, they're happy. Then you start looking into the team. And again, my team are brilliant. The investment that they put into it is incredible. So for me to say, I'm feeling a bit sick here, I'm trying to, in my head, my mind's racing. Are they thinking, is he playing this up or what? It's a lot. It's a different dynamic. You just don't expect to go to be in that position.
You hope those people around, again, got that conversation earlier about perspective and like, look, Conor, we're missing some races in the TT. Yeah, we've done a lot of prep, but you're here, you're getting better. Ultimately, you're healthy and safe. But there's good people around you to provide that perspective.
Brilliant people. And my team are brilliant. They were brilliant, very supportive. They were like, look, you can, just get yourself right. We can mend a bike if another bit of perspective. If the bike went up the road, they don't give a. Obviously, there's a cost to that, but they're more concerned of my welfare, which is great,
So that's the question I hummed about before that I meant to ask. So just finally on 2024, the bikes, what are you in, what are you riding?
So I'm riding the Superbike, Superstock and Supersport classes, all Honda machinery. Superbike and Superstock is the Honda Fireblade, and the Supersport is the Honda CBR 600.
Right. With the team?
Yeah, so it's the Malenko by Paget's Motorcycles.
Everyone knows those.
Yeah. Paget's have been around for a long time. And Malenko, they do security products as well as for motorcycles, and they do quite a line of motorhome accessories, and they're a huge company.
So you'll have a nice big motorhome with a coffee machine in there.
I've got the coffee machine. I've got a motorhome,
and they're all those classes are Paget. You're riding the Pagets.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, good luck. We appreciate you coming in and having a conversation.
Thank you.
Hopefully post TT as well. Maybe you get Ryan and Jamie. We can have a good old chinwag about how TT 24 went for everyone.
100%.
And best of luck with it.
Thanks for your support.
No, pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Thanks for listening, everyone.